dark. When we heard a growl, we went out there to protect the cattle. I could have swore I saw red eyes and fangs. I thought my boy Lyle was... Look, nobody was more shocked and upset than I was to find out it was that young Indian boy. But if he was the one that was killing our cattle, I'm very, very sorry that we had to find out about it that way. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of it.
Can we see the corral? I'll take it.
Vindicators. I'm watching Series 1, Episode 19 of X-Files. It's called Shapes. It's
my father could never try to explain to a stranger.
What kinds of things?
starring not Jerry O'Connell from not from Sliders, and not from the movie Tomcats.
Not a coyote. Not even any trade rules, Agent Scully.
I guess if I'm watching it and you're watching it too, it's like COVID. We're COVIDing.
Watching me.
COVID. Yeah, so fucking.
You were still.
Australia's so impressive.
It was like nature herself was terrified. Get in the creeps.
No.
The creeps? The creeps. Don't you ever get the creeps?
No, fuck, Australia's so fucking impressive. Australian authorities.
Victim was shot there. About 3 meters.
Now, the fucker who taught me the most in chemist was Mr. Gilbert. With what I'm not getting, I would have to say probably the socio-political pressure inside the group. He'll choose treachery for conformity's sake. In my view, he's too intelligent for and moral for the company. He teaches you well. Still got my nasal cyst from Peter. That's what Australian Health has said. Hold on to your cyst. I was of assistance at the time, and I started to grow the cyst. When I teach you in my pharmacy that your genes will make you kill without knowing how, who, when, what, why, and blah 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 blah. And meanwhile, pseudoephedrine is an orally effective nasal decongestant with peripheral effects similar to epinephrine and central effects similar to but less intense than amphetamine. It is a sympathomimetic agent, meaning it creates an effect similar to that which results from the stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system. Pseudoephedrine does elevate blood pressure, cunts, but at the normal dose it should has little to no negative side effects in norm-intensive patients. I'm running out of norm-intensive patients too. Fuck capital chemists, they're a dog shit pharmacy. In my opinion, we need 3 days on the calendar allotted by the parties at their own discretion. Any particular day nominated as Roddenberry Awareness Day. Gene Roddenberry's stories have challenged us to think of whether the world can organize unity and diversity, infinite complexity and infinite combinations. Whether it has to happen via us encountering, us traveling into space first and encountering a race from another planet, or a race from another planet settling on Earth, establishing a colony, and then that you put the two stories together in that dual consideration, and it's a challenge because the legacy of Gene Roddenberry has always been about depicting through science fiction metaphors symbolic of struggles appropriate to the time in which the shows have been created. Now also, yeah, it can be called Roddenberry Awareness Day, Ra, or Rude Awakening. Because, yeah, Einstein said man would indeed be in a poor way if he had to be morally compelled by fear of punishment and hope for reward, or hope for reward after death, in order to be moral now. And Sam Harris has edified that, saying that sort of thinking is to bypass what we generally mean by morality and ethics, which is about the well-being and flourishing of conscious creatures. So, yeah, I think that the Roddenberry legacy should have a calendar day, for sure. Hello. Since I'm profiled as an effect from video, this can't constitute a police statement, obviously, in any sense, for I am a symptom. But, I will therefore...
Man.
You really shine today.
The last policeman in town, and the one that said, do you think Adam and Eve just evolved? What do you say? What do you say to him?
So I changed. Rearranged.
Me?
It's called the message.
I think you're an asshole.
She evolved from your rib, officer, and that's why you came up with the rank cunt stable. And that's why it didn't make sense, because the Virgin Mary's... The question of the Virgin Mary's cunt stability is, well, it's just mind-boggling, savior, and whoa. I think you have a martyr complex, like, seriously. It's pretty weird. Pretty weird of you. Whoa.
So, do you want to maybe call me some...
Yeah, so
Yeah?
Islamic batch of clay gives birth to one man, one woman. A removed rib of a man because he had a loneliness complaint. But the gays are to be stoned to death, says your Bible, that you offer to people in prison as a way to morally reform. By rights, if you don't factor that psychologically speaking, Jesus was to have been suicidal as torture was imposed on him during the procession to the cross, then may you dispense altogether of the Bible, or never touch or harass a single person for contending with thoughts and feelings of self-harm. You've given them the right and tried and fucking forcefully mishandled people for the same fucking reasons as your fucking twisted, sick faith. No wonder you find Floriade so pretty. There's not an apple in plain sight. Pigada. Was it how Jesus made some pigs roll into mud?
Hi, it's me, Julie.
Oh, whoa. It's like, then you can go
And I know that you're
back to the... Actually, how cool. How cool that every English-speaking country knows what we mean by the pigs.
knowing about
It's like something of a Doppler effect.
Friend, do you remember fourth grade? Fourth grade.
Whoa, whoa.
Do you remember my
Symptomatic. The Adam and Eve story, and force multiplied into the Jesus crucifixion story, will and John 3:16 sins of the world is what leads a police officer without provision of attorney and warrant to think it's appropriate, particularly while there's this alert for a virus, to touch your genitals. Now, obviously, they make their society up by at least starting to wear groin leaves, which means a flap, like as a flap over their groin, in between the two guns. It'll help them think about, hiding the shame, which I think will only, it should take them up a notch ethically. In terms of focusing on justice with their Christian agenda. So, commensurate with that, as well as letting them empathize with the ones they touch, and how wide it is they have technology that's efficient enough to tell what's on somebody, and yet don't use it, because that therefore means they'd prefer to touch. Now, that's a horrid thing. But what it means is that, well, in the event that a land rights insurer is an offender worse than cops, then they may float the cops, so that the moral onus of an investment class business man offender is ultimately eventually transferred, he will argue in court, diluted and transferred to unlawful accostaments by police officers. And that's the motive for Roger Markby's prank calls. Voice clone software prank calls. As an insurer, he obviously has to insure himself, so, him saying something about Freemasonry and then ethically gauging the willingness of the officer is where he then goes, here, this. When I worked, I was not given documented notification beyond that of phonetic tone of voice, sensitivity being absolutely essential in relation to patient-to-patient conversation. I also was accused of being under the influence of drugs during many a shift, and I learned that over time the entire group is biphobic as fuck. A fuck between a fucking molecule of air and a up or down quark of air. They and so long as Jesus is supernatural, means they think he was beyond human and more than human, and Jesus loved everyone, then they would have to credit him with being a mature age bisexual. He was teaching about the Son of Man, may be construed to have been a historic, as the Jews were conquered, example that he did not agree with the Adam and Eve story, that he stole a horse or donkey was his worst offense, is proof that he did not conform to every single iota of the Mosaic code of 10 Commandments. And nor would you, if you're a conquered people, take on the ideology of your conquerors. So, via the ACT-AFP's endorsement of Jesus as a supernatural character, they're even biphobic, predatorial towards non-biphobes, and blocking themselves from ever facing the prospect of being otherwise. That's why they fist your koala puppets in school. What they're trying to say is, hey kids, once you're a little bit older, guess where we're going to be touching you? So, know and know well that Jesus, their Savior, also did say that pigs roll into mud. And know that they're saying that too. And know that every country is just to instinctively, all these private agencies with all their forms of telemetry, and they want to say it's more likely that a television is going to create a mental disorder than the combined effects of various forms of surveying. The God believer secretly gets off and aroused to trying to intellectually engage surveying because they've lied to themselves about who's watching over them, what's really out there. There are some people who operate telemetry that think that disclosure of God belief is a cry for help in disguise there and then. So like I said, that symbol that links the A and the E together is because quite literally and genuinely is a difference between prey and prey. Being prey and to pray. To the Australian koala puppet fisters. Now I suggest that on one, have a beer, have an ecstasy pill, watch a video starring Sister Fister. It's XXX, but it may keep you inspired towards the beauty of technological advancements, so you don't freaking touch people's genitalia. Okay, I know genitalia rhymes with Australia. I know we have a great Australian bite and you like to have people for breakfast. I know blah 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 blah. I know you can't say anything to who did Adam and Eve kids have kids with. And I know you'll put a psychiatric profile on any pedophile you encounter just to keep the church doing in business. Without ever calling its ideas and the implications of the mission. It's the only way to ensure the species' survival. What we all owe a debt to that first man and first woman and the sacrifice they made. What they had no choice. They were under pressure. We wouldn't get from there to here. Yes, they had to. Their kids had to do it with each other. There was no other option. And you don't think that it's more likely that this would be the motive, the epistemology for all-out pedophiles and pedophilic minds, because you're absolutely passive to the content of that book's content. And now what you're doing is decorating psych facilities with foreign and non-Caucasian staff, because unfortunately for you, the links between policing, psychology and religion are becoming so apparent as to constitute Discrimination Act violations on more than 3 fronts. As a result, you're bringing in foreigners, and then if challenged on that basis, you'll have racial accusations pelted at the consumer, as you call them in psych facilities, the consumer. Roger Toll and Gary Cairns, who are into land rights, their slogan at the moment is "We have families too," and they've got a little bit more form. I think the client who they're serving, it's very John Grisham. Now, so pig vomits. I'm really encouraging you to just get a conscience. That doesn't mean conscience and believe you're inbred, because there's no hyphen in conscience. Hyphen, not hymen, and not high man. Because I understand there can be some male cunts able too. But I'm not here to give a psychological diagnosis in your regard. You make your choices about your beliefs, credibility, and what you stand for. What suits you in terms of law suits you. Suits you in terms of law suits you. In terms of what law suits you, lawsuits and lawsuits you, I'm sure. So, fuck the AFP watch house. Would you like privacy in the watch house? Would you like to be starved of medication in the watch house to compromise you before hearing, before a judge? Fuck the AFP watch house. Reckless endangerment of life, violation of rights to life, health, movement and expression, and been a little float for faggoty cans and road Mark B. Nelson. Now, why am I run hasn't been in a fight since Creepy Bessons, and I'm standing up to the two of them, while any of the two of you probably aren't wearing batons like in the UK, while nonetheless boarding the religion of the Queen, because your connection to Freemasons is something anally retentive. So flopping that only out, I just asked like hide your shame. It's not a complicated matter. Well, anyway, enjoyed demotions and stuff. To the ones that have been polite, you know who you are. God bless, wagwan, respect. Yo.